In this video for the WestEnd Drupal 7 responsive theme, I'm going to show you how to configure the menu, make it work with drop-downs, and make it work with columns. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the menu. You can see as I roll over this, we can see drop-downs here, and we can see column drop-downs in here as well. Even these little level headers up here are selectable and can take you to a particular region on your site. And that's all going to be handled through Structure, Menus, Main Menu. As I click inside of Main Menu and we see this list, we can see how this kind of unfolds. We have News and Events with the second level dropping down. And as we get into Theme Features, which is the column setup in the menu, we have second level and then third level, and these levels are actually sitting up underneath of each other. This allows us to actually group these and put this as the category they belong in. Well, how do we make that happen? Well, if I go into Structure, TB Mega Menu, come into Main Menu Config, this is where we can control how we want our menus to fall in place. So for example, let's say that I backtrack this a little bit. I'm just going to grab this here. I'm just going to deselect everything here so you can kind of see how it works. I'm going to bring it back to its normal state. Okay, so at this point we're in its normal state. In fact, I'm going to take it even further and go ahead and bring this back to its original size, and then we'll go ahead and configure the menu width. So by default here, this is how the theme menu actually works without any columns. So if I close this out, refresh the page, you can see that our drop-downs can effectively work, and you can still select on these items here. Let's say that I wanted to take all of these additional third level menus and put them in columns. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go back to Structure, TB Mega Menu, Main Menu Config. I'm going to come down to Theme Features. Now at this point I can set the width of this here. The important thing to understand about this width here is that this menu makes use of Bootstrap. This very WestEnd theme is built based on Bootstrap as well, and it's the same version. So what that means is we can set this to any width we want. We could set this to the entire width of the site, but it doesn't need to be that large. I'm going to go ahead and set this at 800. Once I set it to 800, I'm going to go ahead and justify it to make sure that this menu shows to every single user that comes to the site. And at this point you can see that we still have our drop downs down here with this very wide menu over here. Now this isn't very accessible for a user. But what we can do is we can break columns and create multiple columns in here. And how we break columns is by grabbing the second menu item in here, JavaScript, and I can break column to the right. And then I can grab component, and I have the option to break column to the right or left. We're just going to go ahead and break it to the right though. So now, even if I save this theme or this menu how it is, go ahead and open up the home page, that way we can see the change. Now we have this set up in columns to where they're accessible. But still, it's kind of hard to maneuver for a user because that menu's covering it up over there. The best way to correct that is by coming in here and choosing Group. This Group button right here allows us to bring this menu down underneath of the CSS goodies. So let's say I hit yes here. I can come to JavaScript, I can do the same thing. I can come to Component and do the same thing as well. And by saving it like that, what we're doing is we're grouping those other leveled menus underneath of the actual category that we're placing it under. I'll open up the home page again, refresh the menu. Now as I roll over it, that menu's taken place how it should be. So the great thing about this menu is that we can actually create additional blocks and then place those blocks inside the menu. So for example, let me go ahead and create a new block in here. I'm going to go ahead and call this something easy. I can put some text in here. Just leave it at that. In fact, we'll just copy and paste this over and over and over so you can see a lot of text. Doesn't look very good, but at the same time you should get the point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set this to full HTML, and guess what? I can place images in here if I want. So now, if I come down to the bottom and hit save, we now have a new block in here. Well, what I need to do now is I need to get back inside of the TB Mega Menu. Go ahead and go to the Main Menu Config. I'm going to come to Theme Features. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the background in here and add a new row. And adding a new row creates a new region down here across the bottom. Well, we can use this region to place that block in, or we can add additional columns. As long as we put extra content in each one of these columns, they will stay. If you don't put anything in here and then save it, these columns are going to disappear and only display the columns that you've actually placed content inside of. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those columns. I'm just going to go ahead and select the block here. And because I have chosen enabled, I can actually choose Mega Menu Test Block, and this is the content we just created. So at this point, if I hit save, and now again, you're not going to see the images show up if you did the direct path that I did a second ago. But if I save it, close the home page, roll this over it, you can see that we now have text and an image showing up in here. And yes, you can create your own links in here and basically create any other type of layout as well. So let's go ahead and edit that same exact block that we have here. So I'm going to go to Structure, Blocks. I'm going to make my way down to the bottom where my disabled blocks are. This is my Mega Menu Test Block here. I'm going to go ahead and configure it. So let's say I want to put this inside of some Bootstrap. Yeah, we're going to put that in 7. We're going to wrap the logo in 5. Again, what I'm showing you is that you can put HTML in here. You don't have to know HTML in order to use this block. I'm just showing you that you can if you're familiar with it. So now if I hit save, check out what ends up happening. Now 800 width might not show through how we need it to, but all it takes is a simple adjustment if that HTML doesn't match the 800 width that we have there. As you can see, we threw this in that 7 block, and we threw this in the 5 block, or the 5 tag, for columns anyway. So as you can see, once you put a block in there, you can continuously edit that block and add on additional content if you need to.